So yes, I am recording. It's interesting. It popped you up in two different windows now. So there are two Julianas and one K in the middle. It's like a sandwich.
K sandwich.
I don't know if that makes me the weird cream filling or not. But hi everybody,
Definitely
welcome
does.
to Strange Dare. We have such fun conversations before things start rolling. It's Kay.
And this is Juliana.
And we are still in our summery mood. In fact, if you happen to hear from time to time the cicadas chirping happily, it's because Juliana's outside. Kay did nothing to this in post. Just like it was actually the birds on Mile and I back in the 1776 episode. So before we get started, Juliana, I have to wish you a happy the day Aaron Burr shot Alexander Hamilton Day. Or as
Well, thanks.
As one of my friends posted on Twitter today, why is nobody talking about this? No.
Fabulous. Interesting.
I don't know. That was random. I was like, what's today?
We need a field trip to Weehawken today.
Oh my lord. Yeah, I think I'll pass given how, well, that said, the humidity's gone. It's just still warm here. Like, which is nice. I can function that way. I almost did this outside like you are, but it would require a whole lot of moving computer equipment. I like being hooked into the main frame here. That said, all the windows are open. I just artfully closed some things so it's not all the white glare on me constantly.
Nice.
Nice. Tech break.
Yeah, this is our desert island episode. I thought I would
So funny. I love that when you put that in the email as an idea. I was like, that's like a great summer episode idea, because there are also so many ways we could take it. But
if it weren't 10 in the morning, I really would have loved to have a nice drink, cocktail with an umbrella in it for this episode. Instead, exactly. Cheers.
Hot tea, because I've had a little tiny tickle in my throat. That I'm going to banish as best I can.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, but we're calling this strange Robinsonade, dear, and it has nothing to do with drinks. Sadly. It feels like a cocktail we should create. But no, and we're going to talk about that as we get into this episode, kind of what all of that means. But as we usually check in, how's your week been, Juliana?
My week's been, well, I've had my tooth repair. I'm afraid of the dentist.
I don't think you're alone.
Out there. I'm so scared. This isn't just a ploy to get, the nitrous
and sympathy.
But I am finding myself going fully into freak out mode, like during, while the dentist is in my mouth.
Yeah. Well, in kindness, we kind of had an off-the-show conversation about the fact that I don't think we're both performers. We're very baby about our throat, our mouth. Like, this is the instrument, man. Don't go messing with. Like, anything where I have to be like totally conked out, I freak out. Uniformly.
Well, I think right now, I think I would prefer to become conked out.
Well,
and just,
I thought about
do what
that.
You need to do. I'll just be asleep down here.
I was like, wait a minute, okay, she wasn't completely under, but good job.
I wish.
But no.
I wish.
Cool.
It was a good week. I got cast in something new, so that's fun to put on my calendar and my to study list. What about you?
Good. Had a good sit down. We've been doing kind of a weekly conversation related to American history with the cast of 1776 every week. Had a good convo this past Sunday. Rehearsing with them tonight. We'll miss you, John. And what? Oh, I have a December show I'm going to be doing with our good friend Amy Sellers, back at Nutley Little Theater.
What are you doing in December?
Parallel Lives, the Kathy and Mo show.
You're going to be in Parallel Live.
I'm going to be in it with Amy.
Yay!
Amy and I had a convo yesterday. She says hello. Her summer's been crazy, like so many of us have. But so that's going to be in December, and we really need to commit to A, getting our website up here for our show, and B, getting like a calendar of see Juliana here, see Kay there. I should have done that differently. See Juliana there, see Kay here. I'm learning the choreo as we go along. But we're both booking things and having fun with the show, and you and I need to talk about our next block of in-studio season 2 episodes.
I know. It looks like we may have some I know that we have some chunks of time.
I've had a lot of good ideas coming up.
In our future, in the next 6 weeks or so.
We will do it. We will absolutely do it. But
going on an adventure together.
I like adventures.
So speaking of adventures.
Oh boy, okay.
Have you ever played the game of what would you bring with you to a desert island?
So speaking of adventures, when Kay and Juliana were putting their notes together separately, they discovered that their brains were actually somehow linked, and I had put in "Desert Island Game!" exclamation point underlined in scribbly handwriting while I'm hanging out on the back porch. So I think we're both ready to play this game because why else
Hmm.
would we? Do we want to put in a quick what Robinsonade is? I know that's sort of our next segment, but just so we know, people know how this connects.
We sure can. I mean, it's very simple. You know what's funny? I
Mm,
say Robinsonade. Is that
Robinson.
pretentious?
Well, whatever. I'm gonna be as American as lemonade.
I don't know if I've ever heard it spoken. I've only ever read the word. Do you ever do that? You kind of like end up making up your own pronunciation for words that you've never heard
Do we ever do that when we're recording? Only all the time.
all the
We
time.
look at our
It's
notes and then we go, wait a minute, I have to say that word now.
Yeah, it's a funny position to be in that you learn as a broadcaster that, oh gosh, it's not just writing
Wait a
an
minute.
essay.
Why isn't this a print medium? Damn. But yeah.
Yeah.
So however you say it, what's it referring to?
Very simply put, it is a genre
Mm-hmm.
of literature, film, theater, of storytelling, based on or taken from or inspired by the novel Robinson Crusoe.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and it's kind of that whole desert island genre, and again, what better for the summer? But yeah, let's. I don't know what you had specifically in mind for the desert island game, but I had it on 3 or 4 levels. So did you just want
So did I. I'm not even kidding you. I have the what can I wear in my safari vest? That's level 1. What can I carry in a crate? That's level 2. And what can I get in a canoe?
to?
That's
Okay,
level 3.
okay.
How did you do your levels?
I did. You're allowed to bring one. I called it album because I'm that classic rock girl, but one like artist music.
Oh,
You're
got it.
allowed.
Okay, okay,
You're
okay.
allowed to bring a book.
Yes, okay.
A person from history is like your fellow castaway.
Ooh, I like this. Oh, I like this.
And then I
Okay.
have a would you rather, but we'll start with just our what would you bring. So let's do yours.
I like this. Okay, what would I bring? Um, so if all I have is my vest on because I've been on a safari,
Okay.
um,
Just
that's this
let's be clear.
that's my given circumstance.
Okay.
I would have things like a hatchet
Okay.
and a Flintstones, and a Swiss Army knife.
Nice.
If that's all I get, if it's just like whatever you're wearing, you know.
Flintstones, my
Uh,
brain went to vitamins. You're not talking about having a bottle of like chewable vitamins with you, right?
no, 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 no. This, listen, the
No,
Juliana
no, 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 no.
survival is
Okay,
about
okay, you're wrong.
sustainability. Yeah. Um, it might be nice to have maybe sunblock.
Uh,
Um,
might, yes.
yeah, in my pocket. Maybe I would have with me. I do have a pocket version of the of it's sonnets. It's all the Shakespeare sonnets and all the
You're
Elizabeth
getting
Barrett
into your
Browning
book.
sonnets.
Does that count as your book, or are we gonna let that be?
It's little. It's this big,
Okay,
and it could totally fit in one of my safari pockets. Why wouldn't I be traveling with it?
got it.
You know, I do have it in my bag. I should pull it out sometime. I
Got it.
do
Got it.
carry it around my bag. Okay, so there's my vest.
Got it.
Um, then my crate contains things like that's when I can add my books. So if there's like 4 books I could bring, I would put them in there. I can
Oh,
save
there's
that.
a way. If you can only have one book, what book do you get to keep?
What?
This is tying
Uh,
into mine, so this doesn't go on for 20 minutes.
okay, it's true. Yeah, my inventory, yes. But I'm just like one of those visuals where that just the paper
Every
just
time
keeps
you get too
rolling,
fancy, I'm
rolling,
going to say, uh-oh, natural
getting too
disaster.
fancy.
You just lost half of your stuff.
One book, it's nerdy, but I'm sorry.
Okay,
It's the collected works of Shakespeare.
I like it.
I would want it to be something that I can go like study and study and study and study and study and always find new things. Something I wouldn't get bored with.
Got it. Got it. You know what I'm thinking? Let's piggyback on these. So you've got your
Okay.
one book after this wave came and washed away all of our books from our crate. My book is something
Yeah.
I've actually recently read, but I think it would be very helpful for my mindset while I'm stuck on an island with you and your history person and me and my history person. Now there are 4 of us.
Yeah.
Now this is a TV show. I would probably
It's officially Gilligan's Island.
I would wish to hold on to The Subtle Art of Not Giving a by Mark
Really?
Manson, because
That's your Desperate Island book?
I have recently read it, and quite frankly, if I'm in that kind of circumstance, plus you've got Shakespeare, so I guess we're cheating on each other. I'd be like, you have the culture, and I'll have the how do I
Okay.
manage my feels right now.
Okay. Okay.
You have a
Because
fine.
I mean, who gives a what you act like?
I'm
If
gonna have
you
to
know, so
bleep
you
the
can
heck out
be
of this
as
episode.
bitchy as you want.
There goes my quick and easy edit. Next time I need to pick something nice and sweet like Cinderella, so there's nothing in there that I pick out. I mean, I guess if we each had 4 books, my Beauty and the Beast would be in there too. But yeah, I would
You know
probably.
what? It's so funny because I would also like to bring Dangerous Book for Boys and Dangerous Book for Girls. Do you
Ooh,
know these books?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Maybe I should get them for you.
I like that. I like that. Okay, so what else? What else have we got now that we're
Okay.
on this
Well,
increasingly odd island?
okay. You ready? Here we go. Hemp seeds.
Okay, I like that.
Okay. We're talking sustainability. I also want to grow some melons
Okay,
and
sure.
some melon seeds. You know, so just have some
Straight face.
seeds with me.
Straight face. Okay. All right. I'm failing. Go.
You got to make it weird.
Always. Always.
Okay.
It's my job.
You know, maybe some tomato seeds, some bean seeds, some lima bean seeds, corn. You know, I'm thinking
You're
of
gonna plant the
settling
island. You're gonna plant our garden on the island while
and watch my garden grow.
I like it. I like it.
And yeah, so and then in the canoe version, I have all these things. The seeds are much more extensive, um, and medicines, iodine,
You brought a whole med
important
kit
things
with
for
you.
this. But here's the thing. I want to bring puppies, two dogs, because companionship, right? And also, you know, it's not, you know, it's they can sense things we can't. Okay, so my dog, maybe not my
Your
dog.
fabulous Afghan hound.
She's not a desert island dog. She
Oh my
would
god.
not do well.
I was gonna
Um,
say we'd have to bring a team just for her fur, my dear.
yeah, I'd have to bring lots of shears and knife sharpening things. But then I'm stuck now between do I want to bring a couple of goats or a couple of chickens? Because depending on the different predators existing already on the island,
I love you.
chickens might just be easy pickings.
Yeah,
Goats, you
goats.
know,
You can't ride them very far, but you could try. You can.
no, but I plan to get very fit on this island. I'm gonna
I
be, you
plan to
know,
get very drunk.
I've
That's
read
what
a
I'm
book to
like.
run. I would be like the queen of barefoot running on this island.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that would be my main mode of transportation.
Got it. So, I taking it in that vein of book, because kind of like music is the thing. So, like everybody says, what's your desert island album? Where the people I talk to, we always talk about that, and I decided that I would want to have the Beatles' Abbey Road with me. I don't know what we're playing it on. Probably.
I was gonna say, oh, you're also bringing your record player in
Of
your
course,
crate.
of course I am. Well, hey, if you can have, an entire
What are you gonna
garden of
put it? You're
seeds
gonna like
and a
set
goat and your Afghan hound in your canoe,
it? She like,
we're the worst castaways ever. So I would have my Beatles albums with me, and
really?
ooh, ooh,
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
And actually, you know what? What person from history would you want to have along with us? Like suddenly we get one person who can show up for each of us. I know mine.
My
I'll let
my person
you.
my person is a person of fiction,
Mm,
but I know who exactly it is.
who?
It's Jon Snow.
Billy.
Jon Snow. Yes, hands down. Absolutely.
Well,
If I need to build a new civilization, I'm just saying.
we're gonna have a fun group because it's so funny. I was like, I have the kind of high-minded cultural one. I have the pop cultural one, and then I have the this is a joke that will make Juliana laugh one. But
Love it. Go.
I'm gonna go with the one that first came to my mind. I was like, if I have one person
Okay.
from history, I would like Teddy Roosevelt to be with us because he seems like I know it's so weird, man. I think he'd be fun. I think he'd be a wild card, but I think he'd be fun. And if it wasn't,
No, Teddy Roosevelt, he's more of glamping. He's not going to actually.
he'd be there in his leather chaps
Okay,
thinking that
I'm sorry, but I got to move to the other side of the
my
island.
dear, if this is turning into our weird series, he is absolutely going to get the eyeballs on us when we show up on AMC or Stars. Uh, it'll be like a celebrity cast. Like it'll be tremendous. Okay, fine. I'd also been considering Adam Savage from MythBusters or Jerry Orbach.
Oh, yes. No, it's Jerry Orbach.
I
Not him
think it's
again.
great instinct to
Not
it.
him again.
And I would make
How old is Jerry Orbach in this scenario? Is he Lumiere Jerry
no, no,
Orbach, or
no.
is he
Well, oh no.
Law and Order?
Well, if we're on a deserted island, like we don't have any need for a cop, do we? I mean, like maybe he's younger. Maybe he's like 42nd Street Jerry Orbach, like still Mr. Broadway guy who's like young and fit and can sing to us, trying to remember a kind of September.
I'm sorry, but I don't know that we need another actor on this island.
We're full up.
Bring your celebrity crush.
In his spare time, he can play Teddy Roosevelt. We really need to get to a break. Let's. I did a little surface stuff myself. But frankly, I probably put more into our game than I did to the actual history. But that's why I've got Juliana here to talk to us about what Robinson Crusoe. What is this thing?
Okay, let's jump right in. It's a novel by Daniel Defoe. You got me all thinking about celebrities we might shtup.
Oh my! Hey, I never said that. I wanted Mr. Orbach to be my mentor.
Did you?
Yes.
You?
I was also 7.
Okay, yeah, but the 27-year-old Kay who's obsessed
was also 7.
Yes,
Anyway.
all right. Daniel Defoe writes this novel in 1719.
Yep.
About this character, Robinson Crusoe. I don't know how into detail I should get about this, but basically,
if you haven't read it, go away and read it, and we're going to keep talking. No.
I feel like I read this like as a kid, like as a summer reading requirement, but then it was required. I feel like it was required reading, or we studied it in high school and college when we were studying English lit. Does that?
Yeah, well, anything that's sort of seminal of a genre, I feel like if you're doing your job on a high school English lit level, should be in there. And there's a reason that, it's called Robinsonade, Robinsonade, however you feel like doing it. Because
whether your pinky is up while you're drinking your tea or not.
Oh my God. I want some Robinsonade, and I want Jerry Orbach to deliver it to me. He's just hijacked this entire episode. Anyway, but no, the idea of, we've lost her. No.
I dropped something. I'm just going to leave it because I'm all wired up.
Because you're free. Well, I don't know what's in that cup now. But yeah, so Robinson Crusoe it's kind of seminal of the genre of what we're talking about. It's kind of kicks off this idea.
Yeah, it was an instant bestseller in its time. I think it's something like it had reached its 4th edition by still the same year it was published in 1719.
Unsurprising. Yeah.
But also, like, the world is so ready for this literature.
Yes.
Right now, right? We'll talk about this more when we talk about how to define the genre. But you cannot study Robinson Crusoe the novel without understanding English imperialism and colonization and what's happening in the colonization mind right now.
The year matters, 1719. Yes. That I made sure to note down here too, because colonization is really, it's not, I don't think, the first thing people think of when they think of desert island straight out, but if you think about it, you're starting a new civilization in a new unexplored place. Kind of that man against nature vibe. I mean, so it's very adventurous. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as a cultural piece, so in the novel, this character, Robinson Crusoe, he doesn't go straight to getting shipwrecked on the island. He does spend some time as a stowaway and as a captive, and he's interacting with several different cultures before he then lands on the island. And then there's still yet another culture that he's got to conquer with the cannibals. So he is. It's not this complete isolation. when he's on the island. He is the main character is interacting with different cultures the entire book. It's really only what we think of as like the main, how does he recreate his English culture on this island.
Exactly. That's kind of that idea of trying to bring that what you identify as your civilized life to these extreme circumstances is another kind of tent pole of the genre, as far as I would say things you expect to find.
Yeah. It's so funny. I remember reading this, and we've talked about this before, that I have always been, from a very young age, very much bothered by racial tension.
Right.
And I didn't know what to call it, but I remember very clearly, really, really young, saying, I didn't know the word xenophobia. I didn't know the word imperialism, but I knew that this idea of like the white man being culturally superior to all other cultures, that
he presumes, the white man's burden to kind of bring his what must be the top tier to the unwashed,
barbarians, without Christ,
to the point of that, that even there's that passage in the Declaration of Independence that talks about the heathen savages on this continent who King George has like riled up against us, and I feel uncomfortable whenever I read through it. And further, this is a little bit of a side jaunt, but it does tie back. Apparently, over the 4th of July holiday, Facebook had been tagging it as hate speech. When people would post the text of the Declaration on their walls, it was being flagged as hate speech for heathen savages. Which it kind of is.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, but it caught me, and no, you cannot. I think when you're a kid and you read this, obviously your brain is not on that level yet. When you're like reading,
you don't know the words. You don't know that these are battles that people are already fighting. You think it's just that you're like, is it me, or is this not cool?
Or you don't at all, or you're just like, this is a really big adventure right now, and you don't scratch to the next level on it. I mean, one of the things I put in the side here with my notes, which is kind of a deeper conversation point, was my thing of once I wrote down the date this was published, I went, so why does this resonate almost exactly 300 years later? And how has our view on that changed over that time? So that, one of the things that I think it hits, even as a kid, you can get that sort of gut adventure, that kind of, it's you against the world, and that's kind of, I think, the base level kids function at.
Sure.
We've talked before about what it's like to revisit literature over increments of time, to reread it when you're then a teenager, when you're then in your 20s, and how it hits differently based on kind of the barnacles that life has thrown on your shelf as you've gone along.
To stay on brand.
I don't know. I'm still making up for Jerry Orbach over here and Teddy Roosevelt, apparently. I want him to be the Wacky Cast member. But so you were talking about how when you read it as a kid. And
when I read it as a kid, particularly his interaction with the cannibal tribe, and he takes prisoners, and the idea of like the gentleman master who has the gentle slave. So in Friday, he one of his captives then begins to work for him as his servant, and that's Friday, and that's actually where we get the term my man Friday, or my girl Friday, as his kind of sidekick.
Wacky sidekick.
Former barbarian, so
he's been accultured.
That's right. He has taken on Crusoe's culture to become his partner. And then Crusoe makes it back. He has a bit of a hero's journey via Portugal back home. And interestingly, when the book was first published, I think the first several editions listed Robinson Crusoe as the author. So people thought that it was perhaps an autobiography, and that it was a true tale. So one of the important things when we look at the genre in the next segment is this idea of realistic fiction.
Right. Oh, totally. That's right there along with it. It's so interesting how many things, again, my brain has been in very colonial America, so this kind of abuts
Yeah,
a bit, how much anonymous writing was floating around and how different, it
sure.
kind of, how you wouldn't even dream of it today because first of all, copyright law at the wazoo and wanting to make your money off of this now. But like, look, I'm about to tie Robinson Crusoe to Common Sense by Thomas Paine, but I'm sitting here going, these things weren't initially claimed. They're like seminal for the time period. It eventually got there, and you could talk about motivations for not putting your name on it.
Yeah, and I think also
yeah.
this was actually maybe an example of marketing.
Right. No, that exactly. As opposed to going, I probably shouldn't attach my name to this really radical pamphlet thought right away
Yeah.
because I could wind up with a bill of attainder. So
Or I'm a woman and no one will take me seriously if I use my own name.
I need to create a gender neutral name like J.K. Rowling or Sorry. Harry. Now I'm thinking of Harry
What
Potter.
year are we talking?
I don't know anymore. Jerry, help us.
Oh no! Do not call on the ghost of Jerry
Do
Orbach.
not call Jerry Orbach into this room. I will hang up.
So, Kay, if you are enjoying this episode on Robinson Crusoe, you know what other Strange Deer episodes you would enjoy?
The one with Jerry Orbach?
Oh, God. Actually, is he in this one? No.
No, he was not at all. I hadn't let that man out of my basement yet. What?
You could go way back to episode 4 and listen to Strange New Frontiers, Dear, where we talk about some of our favorite childhood books that talk about new frontiers. Can I advise that you don't watch the video version of it?
No, I can advise that. I can actually say, watch it. Yes, it was early, but you know what? I'm owning
We are learning, y'all. This girl is learning. Never, ever let Kay shoot you from below.
Hey, and you know what? I discovered that about myself, too. That was not the intention at the time. It looked good in the moment, but when you're filming
to bring me down.
When you're filming 2 episodes in a day, some things slip through the cracks.
Seriously, we did 2 episodes a day, like 3 days in a row or something like that, didn't we?
We'll be reassessing that in our studio episodes season 2.
We are learning, y'all. So if you want to see how far we've come,
and to have a content tie-in, let's be clear. That's why we're saying this. Episode 4, we were talking about. Yeah, we were talking about New Frontiers. I went on a sci-fi riff, which actually, spoiler alert, we're probably going to be moving into that in the
what?
Ooh. Jerry, come back here.
Oh. So, Robinson Crusoe was such an important piece of literature, even in its own day, that within 50 years, it had become its own genre. So within 50 years, they were referring to books like this as Robinsonades or Robinsonades.
Again, I like my Robinsonade.
What makes a Robinsonade a Robinsonade?
I don't know. Tell me.
All right. It's just basically, there's a little bit of disagreement among the literati.
Got it.
About what exactly it is. Some people are closer to, just more conservative than others. Others have more imagination. But it's going to cover themes like being isolated, being on the desert island, right? Or a virgin planet. Mm-hmm. It's going to have a new beginning.
Yep.
For some of the characters, you're going to have, and this is, I think, really essential, is encounters with new cultures, natives, or others.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's going to make a commentary on society, because we didn't talk about this, but in the novel proper, Christianity is a huge theme in that, and like it
tends to be in the era. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And providence, things like that. So social commentary is going to be an important theme.
Totally.
And then once we have those basic things, according to some literary critics, it can go in one of 2 ways. You can either go toward the utopian Robinsonade or the dystopian. Mm-hmm. And we've got examples of that. What do you think of when you think of Robinsonade?
Well, quite frankly, I think of all of our more, this is very telling to how we always approach our topics. My brain goes into like the 20th century and beyond adaptations that all tie back to it. Because you can't help it as a kid, again, going back to sitting in your English class in high school or earlier, going, hey, this is a lot like blank, or this is a lot like blank.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, what did
Yeah.
you know Swiss Family Robinson?
Oh, I totally did. Although now I've got a funny side story. We're never going to get this episode edited linearly, but what else is new? I used to confuse the Swiss Family Robinson with the Happy Hollisters. Anybody who gets whatever the heck that is.
I don't know the Happy Hollisters.
Those were some very strange books that my mother owned that were like published in the 50s and the 60s, and they were all about a family that solved crime. It was like a family of Nancy Drews. But to be assured, that is not the Swiss Family Robinson.
No.
At all. No, the Swiss Family Robinson, which I also read.
I loved Swiss Family Robinson in a big way, and the Disney movie.
Yeah, yes, and has direct, to me anyway. I would, like I'd watch the Disney movie, and then it would be like there are reruns of Gilligan's Island on cable, which is kind of that funny situation comedy version of it.
Yes, but Gilligan's Island, part of that kind of Castaway. Speaking of Castaway, right?
Yeah. Oh no, God, Tom Hanks, absolutely.
Modern day, and they've made movies about Robinson Crusoe, and then there was the
Crusoe on Mars. Have you ever heard of that? You need to look that up.
Yeah, that's the 1964.
Yeah.
Yes. Then there was a military one. I think this was like a TV show, maybe. I'm like acting like I was there. In the mid '60s with Robin Crusoe.
Frankly, or Lost in Space. Let's.
Well, are we jumping?
This is going to start tipping into sci-fi, but I think it's hard for us to
jump in. It is.
Yeah.
Because the science fiction Robinsonade is probably the way we see it most today. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think since Castaway,
and let's just go into it. Frankly, this might condense our running order a little bit behind the scenes thing. We do have a running order we try to follow. I know it's shocking,
but you know what? We are our own bosses, Kay.
We are our own bosses.
We switch things up whenever we want.
Yeah, but we
run this show.
What I think is relevant in here at this point, because we're saying it's hard to talk about this without realizing how very merged it is with science fiction, and why did that happen in our culture, and that ties back to the kind of things we were talking about in episode 4 with the American colonization, the of developing the United States, and kind of going from coast to coast, and eventually going, oh, we're out of land to homestead now. That's awkward. So writers start to think about what new frontiers are left, and we're even to a place now in our culture where, frankly, there are very few little islands we're just going to bump into and be like, oops, didn't know that was there. So your natural next thought is to take it out into orbit, and go beyond, and that's where the entire sci-fi genre is so tied into this.
That's right.
Yeah, new planets, and right there in the Star Trek creed, if you will, exploring strange new frontiers and boldly going where no man has gone before.
That's it.
Which is so Robinson Crusoe.
That's it. Mm-hmm. And I think, if we're really going to be strict about the Robinsonade, we need to talk about the idea of being stranded. You're accidentally. It's not necessarily going on a mission.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the original novel, when it talks about Providence, that he's stranded on this island like for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's still the idea of like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, this wasn't part of my plan. The accidentally Lost in Space. And so Lost in Space is actually what got me thinking about this, because I was watching Lost in Space with my family, the new Netflix episodic.
Yeah.
It made me start thinking about, I watched the reruns of the late 60s show with my kid.
That's where my reference point is.
Many years ago. Yeah. And before that, it was a comic book, right?
Absolutely.
Of the that was directly supposed to be Swiss Family Robinson in space, not Robinson Crusoe. Swiss Family Robinson.
Still, it's all that same idea.
That's right. Yeah. So we're getting several different iterations, but it's still in the same family. Mm-hmm. There's The Martian. Did you see that movie?
Yes, that's
I felt
Ridley Scott was the yes, and with Matt.
And I felt like that was what I've seen, as far as what I've seen. I may be totally wrong, but as far as I've seen, that's the most true Robinsonade film
with the space element.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
In the
Mm-hmm. No, it is irresistible to writers. Frankly, it is, and you can find it in almost anything. In fact, I started going through genres, going, what feels like the weirdest? I think it's kind of, it tells about how universal the genre is when they were just starting reality freaking TV. One of the infant shows of the reality TV genre was Survivor.
Yes, right.
There's just something fundamentally about that. It's you against nature, and will you now?
Even Lost.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Lost.
The
Got to put
first
that in the
few
room.
seasons, right?
Totally. Work out a little odd, but most assuredly when it started.
Yeah.
Most assuredly when it started, it had one idea, and then someone went, "Let's go this way."
That would be really cool.
Branded with no, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. But there's literally, this is another one. We always wind up picking topics where we're like, we could do 5 more episodes about this. But it's perfect for a summer topic. So I would say if you're looking for takeaway from our episode right now, before we swing into the other usual segments here, go read yourself a Robinsonade or mix yourself some Robinsonade. Let me know what it looks like and how much.
We need to make a recipe.
How much tequila's in there? Will it help with dental?
Never enough. That's also in my crate.
Yes, and I'm sure iTunes can't connect. What are you doing? What just happened? I'm so glad I've got that on video. Still recording.
Excuse me.
The great earthquake of Raleigh. The great earthquake of North Carolina.
This is how well I'm going to do on a desert island.
My plastic chair is broken. I can't function.
No, I just didn't want to get stung.
My canoe from IKEA. Literally nothing from IKEA will make it onto this island.
Oh, here, I also forgot my bolt of canvas.
You forgot your bolt of canvas, did you?
Yes, come on. Wouldn't that be great?
Where's that? What? How are we fitting this all?
This is in my canoe.
Okay.
But I do have a tarp in my crate. But in my canoe does have a bolt of canvas because canvas. You can use it for everything.
I also forgot I wanted to play a Would You Rather. So I'm going to, before we get into what's making us strange this week, I want to Would You Rather you. Let's say we're all settled in on the island, sort of, somehow or other. You keep wondering why Jerry's trying to tap dance on the sand. One day we're sitting there and washes up on the shore. You can keep one of these things that washes up and the others will go away. Suddenly I'm imagining like a weird Bob Barker type guy showing up with these items. You can only keep one of them. Would you rather a crate of food?
Okay.
A toolbox? Or a car?
Oh, definitely not a car.
Okay. Well, think about what you could do with it. I'm not saying it has to
take it apart, right?
What you could do with it. That's why I picked
shelter.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm thinking a boater for your windmill, your water mill.
We are breaking this car apart already. Have we made our decision? Again, to repeat though, would you rather crate of food, a toolbox, or a car?
This is. Can it be a car with its boot full of fruits and vegetables? Because I want those seeds, man.
Can you combine them? No, because if you attempt to combine them all, you lose everything. Like the genie will take everything.
You can't wish for
more wishes. No, genie doesn't like that. No, sorry. Bob Barker, the game show genie, insists you can only pick one.
I think you've changed my mind about the car.
You want the car now? It had occurred to me, I was going back and forth. If we've got your vest with like your multi-tool and whatever else you had in there, and we have a bolt of canvas.
My Flintstones.
I don't feel like I need the toolbox so much anymore. That was kind of my first inkling, though.
Yeah, I've got my tools. I've got my hatchet,
Well, that took that off the table. And then I was also thinking, like, food was the first one I dismissed, because frankly, I was like, well, there should be resources, or we could always...
Oh, no, if this was like farmer's market fare, and we've got those seeds, man.
See, Juliana's got our garden going on. We're already set there. So apparently now we have an Audi that's washed up on shore. No money has been claimed from the Audi company for this. Maybe a little. If you guys want, I'm fine. I also
It could also be a Tesla, but I don't know that a Tesla
a
would be as
Tesla.
useful as something more old school.
No, well, fine. In that case, I'm going to go for the biggest car we can, so we have the most pieces we can rip off of it. We'll
Yeah,
get like a Lincoln Continental.
I love it. I love it. We could set
That'll
up
be
house
my
with there.
umbrella. It'll be like the hood.
Well, what I'm really getting into this week is not so strange, actually.
Okay, you're breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Have
Womp
you heard of our show? Have you read the title?
womp.
Mundane
It's
but true, dear. Not going to bring the people in.
I'm reading a great book called Yes and
Ooh,
How Improvisation Reverses No But Thinking and Improves Creativity and Collaborations.
nice.
Lessons from Second City.
Mhm.
And I want to like share some of it with you one of these days because I think it's really good for any kind of collaboration,
Mhm.
not just for actors learning how to improv. This one has specific applications in the business world.
Mhm.
So,
Very
for
cool.
me, I am kind of reading it in day job type applications. And, what we do here,
Big
I'm
overlap.
really enjoying it. It's by Kelly Leonard
Nice.
and Tom Yorton.
Okay.
So look it up. Mine is actually from the library. I didn't know of it actually until I just kind of stumbled upon it in the library. So check it out. Yes, and Lessons from the Second City.
Very nice. I like it. So I wasn't really sure what was making me strange this week. I mean, yeah, there's the usual level of strangeness, but it's like I try to find what's bubbling up to the top of my strangeness this week and kind of skim that off and make that my subject.
Yeah.
One of the things that a bit of a slowdown in work for me. Again, I'm only rehearsing one show right now, and kind of picking up almost on the day of kind of gigs with one of my day jobs, which is
Mhm.
fine. But it's a much more loose structure this month, which is
Yeah.
affording me a lot of time to get back to kind of my fitness goals and all these things that I never completely shelve, but most assuredly they drop down the priority list
Yeah.
a little bit when you're actively running from place to place and your
Right.
calendar is alarmingly full.
Yes.
But as I've been thinking about it, simultaneously, my good friend Jen Ponton has a recurring role on AMC's new series Dietland, which I've been catching. I will be honest, initially, just because she's my friend and I want to be supportive and I know how
Yeah.
much this show has meant to her. But it's a really interesting series. And it's
Hmm.
particularly been interesting to me because it speaks to kind of the experience of the plus size woman, and particularly
Yeah.
the experience of the plus size woman in a society that sees excess weight as a disease or as
Right.
like the red letter on you,
Hmm.
quite frankly. And so that's kind of been, sometimes I wonder if it's just, I've tipped off the algorithms in my Google and it knows, so it shoves things in front of me, or it's just things are coming through to me. But as my brain's been in this
Yeah.
place and as I've been working on my own fitness goals again, because within my own history, since college, I have successfully maintained approximately 60 pounds of weight loss.
Amazing.
And I always consider myself to be, there's no end line on it. There is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if I'm completely honest, there was a bit of an aesthetic purpose to it, but it really was for my health purposes. And but with all of that, I find I really do empathize with the girl who, the thing about being fat, let's just use the word, I'm not,
Sure.
that it's the dysfunction quote that you can't hide. It's the thing that you wear no matter what. It's there
Mm.
with you. And it kind of carries an immediate set of mental judgments on people as they see you
Uh,
in the street.
yeah.
And you feel like you can't have like a genuine face-to-face interaction with people without
Yeah.
wondering what their mental calculus is.
Right. Right.
Is some of that in your own brain? Maybe a little bit, but certainly there are some god awful stories.
Well, I was going to say in our business in particular,
Yes, exactly.
it is part of the equation, whether you talk about it or not. And it's popular right now to not talk about it.
Hmm.
That does not mean it is not there.
That said, there have been great strides with, and I know within the community that the terms are very a lot of things cause red buttons, but like overall the umbrella is sort of like a body positive sort of thing, or accepting people at any size.
Yes,
Which,
we will accept you. We may not cast you,
yeah,
but
I'm talking
but
about in
you
general,
live
like,
your life. Yeah.
whether you're an actor or not, I'm saying kind of to
Yes.
a broader body, kind of, again, accepting at any size sort of thing. So one of my friends from high school, of all things, who I haven't seen in a very long time, posted an article from fluffykittenparty.com.
Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, and the blogstress, her name is Linda, and she's exactly my age, so honey pie. I read your article and I loved it, but she wrote out a approximately 10-point article on a guide to parenting fat kids, which is
Wow.
huge to me
Great.
because I was most
Okay.
assuredly what you would call a fat kid when I was a kid.
Okay.
And it's, again, you can look this up yourself. We can sublink this, fluffykittenparty.com, a guide to parenting fat kids. But the
Yeah.
biggest takeaways that I got off of it, and again, I don't have kids. It's so funny. One of my favorite podcasts that I listen to is the Jillian Michaels show, and she talks a lot about how she used to give parenting advice before she had kids, and then she was like, "Oh my God, I'm such a hypocrite. I can't even listen to those episodes anymore. It's different when you have kids in the room." So no, I am not a parent. However, I can speak to having been that fat kid with the parents who
Yeah.
I would say in general mind were well-meaning. And I would honestly say a lot of parents come from a place of well-meaning.
Oh, sure. Of sure.
And perhaps their own background
Yeah.
informs how they approach it too, going, I want to save my kids from having the kind of god-awful
Yes.
experiences I did. But you need to be really careful about the signals you're sending, because now as an adult, your kids aren't putting it through the filter of like your experience. They don't know what you
That's right.
all
Yes.
they know is what they're being told here in the room. So tips that Linda's bringing up here are like, don't make exercise a punishment. Frame it in a fun way.
Yeah.
And I particularly related because I was a kid in youth sports. Now, I did enjoy soccer, but I saw so many of my friends who would get dragged to this, to this, to this. And you would have parents say things like, well, we already paid for the equipment or the dance lesson, so you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? And I, as an adult myself now, I can get that and be like, I understand. Especially when I was on the travel level of soccer and we were going all over creation to play elite clubs. You've got uniform. You've got the fees to enter tournaments. You've got, and I wasn't even a dance kid. I know that kids in dance are like, oh my God, the tutu, and now she doesn't even want to be on stage for this. But you know what? If your child, you can say to them, as she says in the article here, don't meet them with the two extremes. Talk to them about it. Be like, well, what aren't you having fun with right now, honey? Like, have a conversation about it. And if it really is that this just isn't their thing, maybe you should just let it go and let them find what does appeal to them. Don't turn it into a punishment, because that's the other thing is these mentalities ride with you. They go along. Like, it took me until I was about 23 years old to really get a handle on why I was quote unquote fat and ugly, and why why my first boyfriend left me, all of those things that get associated with it. And kind of dissecting my relationship with exercise was the first huge thing.
That makes sense.
The other side of it, the other tip that Linda puts in here that I love is don't moralize food. And I can just
the clean plate club.
Oh my gosh. Or just the, your kids, again, they don't quite get, good food, bad food is what they'll see it as. They don't understand, all the nuances of calories and this and that. They start to go, oh, well, mommy wants me to have the boiled chicken and the broccoli. That's good food, but that's not fun food. Right. I want the bad food, but it is fun. Like, she talks about, I never was this bad, but basically evolving to a point where once she was a kid with an allowance and had an income, she got very good at the filling your backpack with your treats and then hiding them in your room.
Yeah.
Did you read Babysitter's Club when you were a kid, Juliana?
I wasn't allowed to.
Oh, no. Well, okay. So Claudia, who is one of, they all hold the Babysitter's Club meetings in her room. This tip brought this right up to me. She had snack foods hidden all over. Like, they knew where her hollow books were on the shelf. So when they would have their meetings, like, they'd pull out the licorice twists or the this or the that. So I was not that kid, but I
Yeah.
absolutely understand where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Further, I did internalize the fact that my dad had treats that he would buy from that magical vending machine at work, and if he didn't eat it at work and he dared to bring it home in his lunch pail, Mom would shame him.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was like, the best way to put that, yeah, don't moralize food.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
make it, and it's so easy too, also to be like rewarding kids with food, and I think it's just about having an honest conversation, and again, not keeping in your mind that they don't know your history, and
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of setting a mode for them, like that.
Yeah.
Of everything on this list, those things. And then, of course, the other thing that caught me, and this is actually pretty early in the article, when you get hit with the question, why is that person fat, Mom?
Yeah.
How do you answer that? And kind of going, the way she says the way Linda talks about it in the article, and I thought that was super smart, was to have the conversation from a young age of, there are a lot of different body types, honey,
Yep.
and
Yep.
trying to unroot the idea that thin is that's the norm and everybody
Yep.
else is broken. So I just, this has been in my mind
Yeah.
a lot recently. And I'm not a child psychologist. I'm just a child who went through a bunch of psycho situations. So again, I feel like we always put this whenever we go into what feels like advice mode. We're like, I'm
Yeah.
not a professional here. I don't have a degree in this, but I can come to you from some real life experience. And if you want to
Yeah.
check out this article again, at fluffykittenparty.com, A Guide to Parenting Fat Kids. I just thought
I
this
love
was
it.
so on the nose. Body diversity, talking about ways to
Yeah.
kind of deprogram some really toxic
Yes.
dialogue that your kids will absorb like a sponge.
I mean, just as a parent, I think that's great, and I think even if you have kids of normal weight, that's probably a great article to read. I know in our family, it's really important, body diversity, and general, like, look diversity
Yes.
is
Yeah.
very important. And I have to tell you, as a parent, it's so much easier when you start that conversation
Early.
very young,
Yeah.
so that it's always the conversation, so that when my kids, it's interesting now having a daughter, and she's allowed in different levels of intimacy. I'm naked around my daughter more than I was around my boys.
Yeah. Well.
And so I get the question, why is your belly squishy, Mommy?
Yeah.
And I think answering questions like that are so important. My belly's squishy because it's been making babies a lot for the past several years. But the thing, and this is important, is that we have control. So if Mommy wanted her belly to be not squishy, she would work out a little bit more, or she would eat a little bit differently. But it doesn't bother me. Isn't it kind of cool and soft? And she said before, I want to be squishy like you.
Yeah, some belly would be my thing. I would say,
Yeah.
it's not good or bad. It's just the way it is.
Oh,
There are
no,
a
no,
lot
no,
of
no.
different bellies.
When kids ask questions, most of the time they're not moralizing.
At
They're
all.
not
No.
they're not giving it a spin at all.
Mhm.
We do it.
Mhm.
So if we can just pick up on where they are. My daughter was not asking about my squishy belly from a place of criticism. It's very easy as a woman to be like,
Yeah.
someone just pointed out that I have a squishy belly.
Yeah.
It is a fact. Why can't I be cool about it and be like, and this is a cool thing, that my body did a very cool thing,
You have to take.
and it is squishy right now.
Yeah.
And I like it squishy. Obviously, if I didn't like it squishy, I could make it more hard. But
Yeah, and
I like it like this. Do you?
And I think so much of it is taking your ego out of the room on that.
Yes.
In
Yes.
everything that happens. But
Yeah.
I'll also put in a simultaneous plug for Dietland, because it's a very interesting. There I have a few quibbles here and there narrative wise, but I think
I can't wait to see it.
it's facilitating a really important conversation in our culture, and I deeply appreciate that aspect of it. Maybe it's not something you necessarily watch with your children unless you want to explain to them why that cult Jennifer is dropping abusive men out of buildings and killing them. But yeah, this is going to be mommy's watch.
Yeah.
But it's having some good conversations, and it's opening my eyes too, because I do know there's a part of God, who was I talking to? I was talking to a friend recently about how society's perception changes when you do go through a radical weight loss, whether you did it through surgery, whether you did it through diet and exercise, whether, some other means has caused it to happen. One of my favorite joking things is comedian Tig Notaro talked about how she got C. diff, an infection that is deeply bad for your bowels, and almost died in the hospital, and she has an x-ray tech saying, oh, your tummy's so flat, what did you do to get that to happen? And she's like, oh, I'm dying. Like, but the way we look at these things, and what we kind of assign to these ideas, and how I did have friendships adjust when I lost weight. Most of my community in New Jersey does not know Kay at 240 pounds. But I also discovered myself going, some people like to use that language of almost talking about the person they were before they lost the weight as being this person who's dead now and gone. And I'm like, I that's not a helpful conversation. That person, you should actually be so proud of that person and embrace that person, because that's the person.
I love that.
That's the person who wanted to make the change. You know what? And that's actually that's me stealing directly from Jillian Michaels, because I feel like, even though on The Biggest Loser, hey, look, it's reality TV again. She kind of got that reputation as like the mean trainer who yelled at everybody all the time. But I feel like so much of that was editing, because when you actually listen to Jillian and the way she talks, her mother has a long back in history and psychology, has a master's in fact, and doctorate and all of that business. So Jillian talks about how her mom was kind of having the psychological conversations from a very young age. And Jillian attempted to bring that into The Biggest Loser, and that was the part that always, I guess, connected for me. Don't be hating on the person who lost the weight. Be proud of that person. I'm not a new Kay now. Some people like to even take their middle name as their new first name after they've gone through weight.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
One of my friends in college did that, and as she's brought herself back to a more healthy place, because she also had a lot of side effects from the surgery. And I'm not knocking the surgery here, but you need to be in a place and be very holistic about it when you're doing it. I'm a strong advocate for psychological counseling to go through it, because of all the societal things, because of mentally what you're going to go through when you look in the mirror and it's somebody very, very different, visually anyway. But it's one of the girls I went to college with, she started going by her middle name. I didn't know her before her surgery, but I knew that was something that had adjusted. She had it over the summer, and when she came back, so there are people who feel that way about it. And, okay, if that's the way you feel about it, and I personally think it's good. You're going to do better for yourself if you just kind of look at yourself as that whole person who accomplished, going back to what you said, Juliana, this amazing thing. My body did an amazing thing. My body made babies. My body, I was sweating a lot, and it hurt, and I didn't think I could do this thing, but look at what I accomplished. So, I guess that's my wrap on that. That turned into a whole conversation about body image, but I think that's important in what we talk about.
I love it. Let's go. I think we need to embrace when those things happen.
Yeah, we can revisit this too at some point, but my soapbox is going away. Hold this, Jerry.
I love it.
And that is it for this episode, which became Robinsonade / Kay Talks About Body Positivity. Maybe Robinsonade will be a good thing to help you with your weight loss journey. I don't know.
That's what the cayenne.
This is mutated horribly. But we will see you guys next week for another On the Road episode. And once again, you can find us on social media at Strange Deer. Where can they find us, Juliana? On
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube,
Pinterest,
Tumblr, Twitter.
You can email us as well at strangebuttruedeer@gmail.com, particularly if you have episode ideas for us. I mean, we'd love to hear it. Again, we're going to be getting back into the studio for our season 2 in studios episodes, so get that information into us, and we will see you next week. Give us the tag, Juliana.
And stay strange, dear.
But not in a way that gets you arrested. Jerry, how'd you get out?